Is Chicago dying? 3 chilling facts. When you think of Chicago, what comes to mind? Is it a city of shimmering skyscrapers, a jewel on the shore of Lake Michigan, a global hub of culture and commerce, the city's deep dish pizza, championship dynasties, and architectural marvels? Or is it the other Chicago, a city where the population is shrinking, tangled in economic turmoil, and whose reputation for violence casts a long, menacing shadow? For years, a question has haunted the Windy City, whispered in quiet conversations and debates and headlines. Is Chicago dying? Since 2014, the city has been hemorrhaging residents, a slow bleed that has many wondering if the damage is irreversible. Today, we're not just asking the question, we're digging into the 3 chilling facts that reveal a city fighting for its future. Section 1. The Great Chicago Exodus. The first, and maybe the most startling fact, is that the sheer number of people leaving. Now that there's been a small recent rebound, the population ticked back up from its 2023 low to just under 2.75 million in 2025. But that doesn't erase the bigger picture. For nearly a decade before that, Chicago was defined by a relentless population decline. Think about this. The city finds itself with a population smaller than it had during the jazz age of the 1920s. What's driving this? It's not a lack of births or a spike in deaths, it's domestic out-migration. Simply put, more residents are packing their bags and moving to other parts of the country than are moving in. Even with a significant number of international migrants coming to the city, it hasn't been enough to stop the bleed. Then, surrounding suburbs tell a slightly different story. With the Chicago metro area growing by a modest 0.65% in 2025, but the urban core has borne the brunt of the departures. So why are people leaving? The reasons are a familiar story for many American big cities, but in Chicago, they've boiled over. Residents point to the search for better and more affordable housing, lower taxes, and greater job opportunities. It's a story of families and individuals weighing the world-class amenities of a global city against the daily pressures of high costs and economic uncertainty, and deciding the balance has tipped too far. This isn't just about the numbers on a census report. It's a hollowing out. It's a loss of neighbors, taxpayers, of the very lifeblood that makes a city vibrant. Every moving truck that crosses the city line is a vote of no confidence, a tangible sign of a dream deferred. The steady stream of departures has created a narrative of a city in retreat, forcing everyone, from the city hall to the residents who remain, to confront an uncomfortable reality. A great American city is shrinking. The question is, can it be reversed? Section 2. The billion-dollar black hole. Following the people out the door are the dollars. The second chilling fact is that the city is staring into a billion-dollar black hole. For the 2025 fiscal year, Chicago faces a projected budget deficit of $982.4 million. This isn't a new problem. The city has been running deficits for over 2 decades, but this is a gap fueled by a perfect storm of rising city employees and pension costs, falling tax revenues, and the end of a federal pandemic aid that was keeping the city's finances afloat. This massive shortfall forces a series of impossible choices. Mayor Brandon Johnson has said that sacrifices will be made and hasn't ruled out painful options like property tax hikes or city worker layoffs to balance the books. When it comes to taxes, Chicagoans are already shouldering one of the heaviest burdens in the nation. While there's some debate over the exact spot Illinois consistently ranks at or near the top of the highest property taxes in the United States. For homeowners, this means shelling out thousands more per year than the national average, a powerful reason to look at the neighboring states. And renters aren't spared, as landlords pass on high property taxes through higher rent. This financial strain has real-world consequences. The city's unemployment rate has been a major red flag. In 2025, it was reported at 6.2%, the highest among major U.S. metro areas. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. As people and businesses leave, the tax base shrinks, forcing the city to demand more from those who stay. That, in turn, drives more people away, further hurting the economy. The cost of government is soaring, while the number of Chicagoans available to pay for it shrinks. The billion-dollar black hole isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a direct threat to the city's ability to provide basic services, from filling potholes to funding schools. The challenges facing Chicago are immense, and they're sparking intense debate. What do you think? If you lived in Chicago or have had a strong opinion on its future, share your perspective in the comments below. And if you're finding this analysis valuable, take a second to subscribe and hit the like button. It helps us continue to produce in-depth reports just like this one. Section 3, the shadow of crime. And that brings us to our third and most chilling fact, the shadow of crime. You can't talk about Chicago's struggles without addressing public safety. For years, the city's reputation has been scarred by headlines of violence, and while the reality is more complex, the perception has taken a heavy toll. Here's the crucial context for 2025. Crime is down, significantly. Homicides in Chicago for the last 7 months of 2025 are down by 33% compared to the same time in 2024. In fact, homicide totals are the lowest they've been in a decade. Shootings have dropped by nearly 39%, and robberies are down by about 35%. April 2025 was the least deadly month in the city in over 10 years. This is undeniably positive news. But, and this is a huge but, it doesn't erase the larger problem. The narrative of spiking crime might be outdated, but the reality of high crime remains. Despite the recent improvements, Chicago still has a high crime index, with property crimes being especially common. And even with the recent drop, the city's homicide rate is still significantly higher than it was a decade ago. The truly chilling part of this isn't just the number of crimes. It's what some have called a collapse of consequence. One of the most alarming statistics in recent years was a report showing that the arrest rate for violent crimes had fallen to just 10.8%, its lowest point in a decade. While clearance rates for specific crimes like homicide are higher, the feeling of a lack of accountability is widespread. When the majority of crimes go unsolved, it erodes public trust and emboldens offenders. It creates a sense of impunity on the streets and a feeling that the system is simply overwhelmed. This has profound effects. It hits property values, it forces businesses to spend more on security or even close down, and most importantly, it inflicts a deep psychological toll on residents who have to constantly weigh the risks of living in their own neighborhoods. While the downward trend in violence is a desperately needed glimmer of hope, the city still faces a long road to restoring a true sense of security and trust for its residents. In conclusion, so is Chicago dying? The city is not on a morgue slab. It's still a vibrant, resilient, and globally important metropolis, but is undeniably a city in crisis. We've seen the facts. A population that, despite the smaller recent uptick, has been in a long-term state of decline, driven by residents seeking opportunity elsewhere, an economy buckling under a nearly billion-dollar deficit, and some of the highest property taxes in the nation, and a persistent crime problem that, despite significant recent improvements, continues to damage the city's reputation and residents' sense of safety. And these three problems aren't separate. They're all connected. High taxes and safety concerns push people to leave. As they leave, the tax base shrinks, making it harder to fund city services and address the root causes of crime. This in turn makes the city less attractive, fueling a cycle of decline that is incredibly difficult to break. Chicago is at its tipping point. The recent population growth, driven largely by international migration, offers a ray of hope. The significant drop in violent crime in 2025 is a monumental achievement that can't be understated. But the underlying structural problems, the outmigration of the middle class, the fiscal instability, and the deep-seated issues with the public trust remain. It all comes down to will and direction. Can Chicago reverse these trends, or are we witnessing the slow, painful decline of one of the greatest cities in America? The answer will be written in those choices made in the coming years, not just by its leaders, but by the millions of people who still call it home. What do you think the future holds for Chicago? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the issues shaping our world.